The Century Media Podcast.
Hey, this is John Kevill
and John Laux
from Warbringer, and welcome to Century Media's podcast, On the Record. Our new record is called Waking into Nightmares. Alright, well, the record, we pretty much had a pretty short time frame to do this. We were on tour for the first record, War Without End, all year, and we came back in. We had about 2 months to write the whole thing, while we were at home recuperating from the tour, and pretty much we rehearsed 5-6 days a week.
Yeah, and then in January we went to the studio. We went to Sharkbite Studios in Oakland with Gary Holt producing, Adam Wright was our engineer, and Zach Owen was going to mix and master it. And we did it in about 12 days.
Yeah, we were worried about, we had 14 days and we were worried we wouldn't finish it in time, but as it turns out we finished it 2 days early. Things were moving along.
Yeah, we're really happy to put out a really focused sounding record. I think all the stress and the lack of breathing room, really created a diamond of pressure.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pressure. It was this record, I remember the writing of it is quite an ordeal, but it was pretty rewarding once it all got done.
Yeah, and the title "Waking into Nightmares" is just because this time around we wanted to show people that we had other topics we could talk about, and it's not like we're straying from war, but we have a lot of nightmare scenarios and a lot of terrible, horrible things to talk about on this record.
Yeah, with the first record, people thought it was, this band writes all their songs about war like we're Volta or something, and that's not the case. I just happen to love military history and all of that. So there's some of that on this record, but there's also, I'm going into a lot of really demoralizing themes mostly. I mean, because on all our songs, I've always just tried to write lyrics that are aggressive and evil and make you feel bad.
This record, it's mostly the same musicians. The bass player's been touring with us since we started touring, but we have a new drummer who was a huge addition to the band and the precision. And after a year and a half of non-stop touring, we've all improved, and we think it's the best we could have done under any circumstances so far.
Yeah, I think with when we recorded the first record, we were pretty much still a local band. We had done 30 shows ever in our existence, and between the two records, we did over 200. So it really sharpened us quite a bit, and we had learned from making the first one what we did right that we wanted to keep recording process-wise, and what we wanted to do different, and what we wanted to sound different, so we could get things closer to our vision of our own music.
And we couldn't imagine anyone better or more qualified to produce this than Gary Holt. With the first record, we felt it didn't have the exact sound we wanted. We wanted a very tight, heavy production, but we didn't want to sound too modern. And Gary understood the balance between a classic thrash sound, and we're really happy with how it came out and the work Zach did on it.
Yep. Yeah, let's talk about some of the songs on the record. We got, let's see. The first single, Severed Reality. Actually, this record, because we had a pretty short time span to work on it, we actually ended up drawing on a bunch of old half-finished jams that kind of sat around in the back of our memory banks, that some of them date back to older than some of the songs on the first record. Jackal was really old.
Yeah, it was. I think we were able to tighten it up, and we were able to add a lot more elements to them to keep them just a lot tighter.
Yeah, we had the will to actually finish the song this time, and Living in a Whirlwind was old, Severed Reality was really old, and a lot of the Scorched Earth riffs Adam had for a long time.
Yeah, I like what Living in a Whirlwind's about.
Yeah, downward spiral of drugs and depression, oh no.
Yeah, and then shout out from the team's interesting, because I actually found out the lyrics on that one.
The last part of this album is kind of interesting because the last 3 songs are the first half of the record really is collaborative and based around older ideas. Pray for Death is also an older song. That was the first song from the record that was completed. We'd been playing that for about 6 months before we started even writing for the next record formally.
That's Pray for Death. It's more of a rock and roll kind of vibe, and we're really proud of it. At first we were worried, are we going to write songs like this for a whole record? But when you have a whole record that's so fast, Pray for Death's a really good break. We hope people get into it, because we really like it when we play it live.
We did the instrumental Nightmare Anatomy too. We had planned doing an instrumental, and at first we had a bunch of metal riffs for it, but then Adam kind of decided that he wanted to do something a bit more spacey and just really different from the rest of the album, so we have what's probably best described as a post-rock instrumental in the middle of a thrash album.
Yeah, so you have time to roll a spliff.
Exactly. And like I say, in the last 3 songs, each one of those songs is like pretty much, I view them as like each one being like one member's personal project, where like each one of those songs is something that somebody in the band specifically like wanted to do for their own selves. And Shadow from the Tomb was Ben's, and he does some vocals and wrote the lyrics on it. And that was he wrote a song that kind of we were jamming and we didn't end up picking up, and then he reworked it and it became that song, and we put it on the record. We got fucking Dan Seagrave to do the artwork, and because we thought, well, what if we could use Dan Seagrave? His art always consistently rules. And we wrote him, and
yeah, he said yeah, and he loved the music, and he was happy to work with us. Dan Seagrave is a legend of old school death metal cover art. His artwork can be seen on Morbid Angel, Suffocation, Left Hand Path by Entombed, the first 3 Malevolent Creation albums. You could see it a mile away. It's on every T-shirt, every gig. There's plenty of great artists out there, but the guy has a sick style, and it's really original, it's really demented.
Yeah, it's a very surreal kind of style, and I like how he even actually tied it in a bit with our last artwork, which our last artwork is pretty like 80s comic looking, you know, which I happen to love. But then he tied it in, because now we have a very, as opposed to that style, this one's very, you know, he has a surreal kind of style to his work. And but he tied it in, and he made it look like he left some old destroyed tanks in the left-hand corner, so it makes it look like it's some aftermath of the first album cover, which is what I've been hoping for the art in the first place.
The concept with the art was that there's a second Dark Age sometime in the future, and who's ever left can't really recognize like the artifacts of like, you know, thousands of years ago, and it's just a monument to human sickness.
Yeah, it was. We were thinking, like, you know the scene in Alien where they land on this planet and they see this ancient but futuristic thing there, and they're just like, what is that? That's kind of what we were hoping for.
Yeah. So pretty much with this record, we wanted to show people that like you could play an old school solid heavy metal, but you don't have to sound tired or retro. You could try to put your own ideas or your own originality into it. And the vibe is completely demoralizing, and the message isn't anything more than tongue-in-cheek, but I think we actually said a lot with this record, and you know, we hope you enjoy it.
Fucking check out our new record. It's in stores now.
You better.
Yeah. Bang your head.
That's right! Check out the new Warbringer album, Waking Into Nightmares, in stores now. And right now, check out the track Severed Reality from that record. It's Warbringer. Take it away, guys.
Hey, this is Kevill.
And this is Laux.
From Warbringer. And you're listening to the Century Media Podcast.